it's just crazy, man. I feel like, you know, once you have 7 different fighters that come up positive in your camp, you know, for performance-enhancing drugs, I think somebody should take a look at that camp like, hey, what are they doing in there? You know what I mean? But nobody wants to ask questions. Nobody wants to say nothing. So it's not even
100% confident in himself. I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, you know, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him. So he never got off.
You think
steroids.
he's on steroids?
Of course, of course.
Sure.
How does 5?
You saw De La Hoya call him out.
How do 5 people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids?
Right.
David Benavidez explodes over Canelo's drug scandal, demanding a full investigation before any Crawford fight happens. He claims Canelo and his entire camp are dirty, pointing to multiple past steroid violations. Benavidez questions why boxing protects its cash cows, while ignoring clear evidence of PED abuse. David Benavidez has ignited a firestorm by questioning why no formal investigation has been launched into a boxing camp that has produced 7 positive PED tests. From his perspective, the silence of governing bodies suggests favoritism, where big-name fighters and camps receive protection, while lesser-known athletes would face instant backlash. For Benavidez, 7 violations can't be ignored without damaging the sport's credibility.
It's just crazy, man. I feel like, you know, once you have 7 different fighters that come up positive in your camp, you know, for performance-enhancing drugs, I think somebody should take a look at that camp like, hey, what are they doing in there? You know what I mean? But nobody wants to ask questions. Nobody wants to say nothing. So it's not even, I find that kind of really messed up, and it's really biased, because if it was our camp, we had 7 guys coming out positive for steroids, they'd be like, man, you guys need to take that guy's license away. You can't let him move around like that. And we would be suspended right away. But, you know, the cash cow always wins. You know, some people like to stay quiet. Some people don't like to say nothing. But that's 7 guys. That's 7 different people. That's 7 different people, and that's just something that you cannot ignore no more.
Continuing his criticism, Benavidez slammed the usual excuses offered after PED busts, arguing that it's time for year-round drug testing for every athlete. He believes this would eliminate the cover many fighters hide behind. From his standpoint, performance-enhancing drugs rob clean athletes of their rightful place, undermining the very core of what boxing stands for: discipline, hard work, and natural talent.
No, I just feel like everybody's gonna say that. Oh, they don't know what happened. Or I think just Canelo needs to stop having barbecues at his house. That's what needs to stop happening.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue in the sport, and I think the only way to resolve it, right, is that everyone needs to be on 365 testing. Are you in support of that?
I'm support that. It's just crazy that, you know, I didn't really know how big of the problem with steroids was, but people really be out here taking steroids. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like that that takes away from you as a man if you're trying to be as good as you can, and then you have to take another performance-enhancing drug to get there. That kind of takes away from chasing the greatness. But I mean, that's just the way I think. I don't know how everybody else thinks. You know, I don't cut corners. When it's time to train, I'm not scared of hard work. I'll work 3-4 months, and that's just how it is with me, but I don't know how other people think.
Despite calls to return to 168 for a Canelo clash, Benavidez has drawn a firm line he's staying at 175 pounds. He says he's earned his position and will no longer chase what he calls a fantasy fight. The window for making that bout happen was open long enough, and now he's turning his energy toward opponents who actually want to step into the ring with him.
Me and Canelo, whatever happened at 168. I want to go back to 160. I'm good at 175. I'm world champion here. So if you'd want to come up to fight at 175, I'm all good with that. But right now, I can't live in this fantasy world where like, oh, maybe I'm going to get this fight, maybe this and that. I've done my job. I've done everything to get this fight. It's one of the biggest fights in boxing. If a person don't want to make it happen, I'm not going to waste my time trying to make a fight happen with a person that doesn't want to fight me. So I'm just trying to fight the people who are really trying to fight.
David's immediate attention, however, is on Anthony Yarde. Scheduled for November 22nd, Benavidez expects nothing less than a war, acknowledging that Yarde, in his 3rd world title attempt, is coming with everything. Benavidez promises to meet that intensity head-on and deliver a thrilling performance that will leave fans on the edge of their seats.
He has a lot of experience. This is his 3rd time at a world title, so I know he's going to leave it all on the line, you know, November 22nd, but like I said, you know, I like to go to war too. I'm not going to back down from him. He's not going to back down from me. So let's have some fun. November 22nd. Let's give the people what they want to see. Like I said, any shot could change the fight. So like I said, he wants to go to war, we're okay with that. Let's go to war.
While Benavidez remains skeptical of a Canelo versus Crawford showdown, Joe Rogan has a different view. Rogan believes Crawford has the intelligence and skill to outmaneuver Canelo despite the size gap. He imagines a game plan rooted in movement, sharp entries, and exits reminiscent of Ray Leonard's historic win over Marvin Hagler. Rogan hints that Canelo's recent tendency to rely on power shots may be his undoing.
Canelo versus Crawford. Well, I'm a giant Crawford fan because I think he's the best switch hitter since Marvin Hagler. I also think Canelo is slowing down, and Canelo is more of a one-punch fighter now than the combination fighter he was when he was younger.
Do you think Terence Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez?
Yeah, I think he can win.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to win, but I think he can win. He's going to have to box a brilliant fight.
If Ray Leonard could beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler, then Terence Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez. Why do you say that? Same equation. Get in, get out. Get in, get out. Yeah. Over and over and over. He's got to figure the angles and the approaches that will allow him to step in, land to the body, or occasionally upstairs, and then get out.
Yet Benavidez remains firm in his stance that Canelo and his camp cannot be trusted. Citing 5 previous PED violations tied to Alvarez's team, he labels the entire group as dirty. He questions why a supposedly confident champion like Canelo continues to avoid him, implying that the avoidance and past violations speak louder than any press statement.
100% confident in himself. I don't know why he wouldn't fight me, especially since, seeing that everybody in his team is on steroids, which means including him, so he never got off
You
the
think
steroids.
he's on steroids?
Of course. How does
You saw De La Hoya call him out.
How do five people out of your camp get tested positive for steroids?
Right.
You know what I mean? All those fucking dudes in that camp.
Meanwhile, Antonio Tarver echoed the sentiment that Crawford poses a real threat to Canelo, describing him as a master boxer already preparing for the fight mentally. Tarver praised Crawford's footwork and fight IQ, emphasizing that in this case, skill and willpower could outweigh sheer physical advantage. He also hinted that Canelo would need to recapture his best form to survive such a test.
Terence got to be Terence, bro. He's a real deep thinker. He processed fights like nobody else. And he's processed this Canelo fight. He's seen it. He went through it 2 or 3 times already. He knows how this ends. You can tell the way he shadow boxes. He visualizing Canelo being right there in front of him. You understand? Look at the movement. That's all you got to do. Look at the movement. And that's the type of master boxer that Canelo is going to be facing. And the only thing I say is Canelo hasn't faced an opponent like this in a long time. You know what I mean? I think Canelo's going to have to go back to the Caleb Plant fight and look that good, that active, that, you feel me, moving with that type of grace to beat Terence Crawford. Because weight ain't gonna make the difference. It ain't gonna be the weight. It's gonna be the skill set. It's gonna be the skill set and how bad they want it. Because both of them gonna get challenged.
Tarver also addressed Canelo's controversial claim that Crawford is better than Floyd Mayweather Jr., at least the version of Mayweather he faced. Tarver admitted that while Crawford has more punching power, Mayweather's ring intelligence was unparalleled. He framed both fighters as cerebral tacticians, but reminded audiences that surpassing Mayweather's legacy requires more than just raw talent.
Bro, biggest fight of the century. I can't wait, man.
Canelo said he feels that Crawford is actually better than Mayweather. What did you make of when he said that?
Now, when you look at, I don't know, bro. When you look at the time he's facing, like right now, he's facing Crawford. He may mean that this time Crawford may be better than the Floyd that he faced way back when. Now Floyd, when he fought Canelo, he was money made in. He wasn't our pretty boy Floyd. He was money made, so he was making the transition. I kind of get what he's saying. Now we can say this: Crawford, I think, has always been a better puncher than Mayweather. Punching wise, you feel me? Hurting people, knocking them out, getting them out of there. I think his power has always been a little better than Mayweather. But skill set, skill for skill is hard, bro. It's hard to go against Mayweather. A guy that processed boxing better than anybody. Like, that's one of the thinkers in the ring, like me. We were thinkers, bro. We processed that shit like this, bro. You feel me? Speed, power. I need one round to figure out what I'm doing.
However, Benavidez also expressed concern over the rumored Canelo versus Terence Crawford super fight, warning that Crawford's jump across 3 weight classes could put him at a serious disadvantage. He believes that weight divisions exist for a reason. At the same time, Benavidez is preparing for his own upcoming bout against Anthony Yarde, whom he expects to be sharp, technical, and unrelenting in a high-stakes battle.
Only because Terence Crawford is coming up 3 weight classes. Yeah. I don't want to say that he doesn't have the ability to hurt him. He obviously does. He's really technically sound. He's a great fighter. But sometimes when 3 weight classes is different. It's like if I would go up right now trying to fight Anthony Joshua or Gypsy King, you know what I mean? Like I believe I could win if I don't get hit, but if I get hit, you know what I mean, that you got to worry about that. So that's really just where I'm at with that. But I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. You know, you never want to doubt Terence Crawford out, but you know, there's weight classes for a reason.
And lastly, Anthony Yarde, we mentioned how much is on the line for him. What are you expecting out of his game?
I'm expecting him to, be the best Anthony Yarde he is. You know, he's sharp. You know, he has good reflex. He has good defense. So this is why we took this fight, because he does a lot of stuff good, and that's what's gonna motivate me, to go in there, be on my P's and Q's, and make it a fight. At the end of the day, it looks like a juicy fight. It looks like he's not going to back up. I'm not going to back up. So,
adding another layer, Devin Haney sees Crawford as a dangerous opponent for Canelo, especially given that the current version of Alvarez is more experienced and durable than when he faced Mayweather. Haney believes a Crawford victory would carry immense weight, far more than Floyd's win a decade ago, simply because of who Canelo has become since.
Do I think that? Are you saying, do I think that Crawford is better than Mayweather? At fighting, I think that.
Well, he didn't really make it clear.
I think that Crawford is fighting. I think Crawford is fighting a different Canelo than Floyd has. A much better version Canelo than Floyd fought. So that's why I think the difference is.
Boxing analyst Jose Benavidez shared his take as well, predicting Crawford would go the distance and aim for a decision win by using movement and avoiding slugfests. He also voiced doubt that a Benavidez versus Canelo fight would ever materialize, unless someone like Turki al-Sheikh steps in to make the blockbuster a reality.
Crawford, how does that play out? How do you see that fight happen?
I just see a Tom and Jerry fight there. I think Crawford's a great fighter, Canelo's a great fighter, but Crawford's going 2 divisions, and I don't think he's going to stay in front of Canelo. He's going to try to win the fight, win by points and move around and not stay in front of Canelo. If I was Terence Crawford, I would not stay in front of Canelo because he's the bigger man and the bigger puncher. So I think we know what Terence Crawford's good at, winning fights and moving around.
Absolutely. Now, you think that David can get the winner? He'll finally face Canelo? You think that fight will ever happen?
No, I don't think that fight will happen. But if there was somebody who could make that fight, it would be his Excellency Turki al-Sheikh, So, I don't think that fight is going to happen, but hey.
While Benavidez remains focused on his own legacy, he has acknowledged the growing buzz around a potential Canelo fight, especially after securing the 175-pound title. Though he insists he'd be satisfied with or without the matchup, he knows the new belt puts him in Canelo's crosshairs, especially if Alvarez truly values fighting for greatness. For now, Benavidez is keeping his sights on his current goal, but is more than ready should the moment arise.
I'll tell you like this, if I never get that fight, I'll be fine with it. I'm fine with it. Because I'm staying in my lane. I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to beat the other best in the world. But if that fight does happen, I'm going to be ready for it. And it's looking like it could happen. I have the belt at 175. Canelo says he only fights for greatness. He only fights for titles. That's what excites him. So now I got a title. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to keep winning these fights. And I'm not thinking about Canelo. But if it does happen, we're going to be ready.
And look, you're a big boxing fan. You know the sport as well as anybody as a top fighter. What are your thoughts on Canelo Alvarez against Terence Crawford?
I don't like it only because Terence Crawford is coming up 3 weight classes. Yeah. I don't want to say that he doesn't have the ability to hurt him. He obviously does. He's really technically sound. He's a great fighter. But sometimes when
Oscar de la Hoya didn't hold back when discussing both Canelo and Crawford. He described his relationship with Canelo as very personal, calling him ungrateful, while warning Crawford that size and late-round fatigue could become factors. Still, he credited both fighters with enough grit to make it a close and compelling contest. When asked who he'd rather fight to settle things once and for all, he didn't hesitate in answering that it would be Canelo.
Canelo, we have something very personal. That's it. It's very personal. ungrateful. That's all I can say. Ungrateful.
Are you picking him to beat Crawford?
It's a good fight. I think there's weight classes for a reason. I mean, like every boxing expert should know, there's weight classes for a reason. Look, once the 5th, 6th rounds, pans out, is Crawford gonna feel the pressure? Is he gonna get tired? Because Canelo's gonna keep coming. I don't think Crawford has enough firepower to stop Canelo, but I don't think Canelo has enough ability to walk right through Crawford. Crawford is a very smart fighter. I like his chances, but again, there's weight classes for a reason.
Last one, this is a one-word answer. If you could settle any of these beefs we've talked about in the ring, who you fighting?
Hands down, Canelo.
Terence Crawford, never shy of firing back, brushed off Oscar's comments with a bold declaration. With a fight scheduled for September 13th, Crawford vowed to silence doubters and etch his name in boxing history, promising fans that the true measure of his greatness would be on full display that night.
What do you make of those comments?
Listen, I don't care what nobody else on the outside got to say. I can have dinner with you and then, at dinner, so it don't matter, what De La Hoya say or anybody else, I don't care.
Terence, what are the world going to find out about Terence Crawford on September 13th?
Well, they're going to find out how great I am. I'm going in there to be great. I'm going in there to, make history. So, the world going to find out all the questions that they've been asking. All the answers will be answered come fight night.
Furthermore, Crawford has heard the noise surrounding his resume and addressed it head-on, insisting that every fighter he's faced since moving to 147 has been outclassed. He warned future opponents and critics that the results will be the same moving forward. With unshakable confidence, he promised to break down anyone in front of him and leave no questions unanswered.
Fighters that you fought, they ain't on my level. And
I fought everybody.
The last fighters you fought since 2002.
Mention me one. You mention me one elite fighter. Just one.
You.
Oh, me.
Look,
it's gonna be me.
I don't care about
nobody
else.
And you will see that. Day.
You. So when I beat you, is you gonna be a nobody? When I stump a mud hole in your ass, is you gonna be a nobody? Same everybody else been saying since I moved to 147, I ain't fought nobody. Every last one of them stump a mud hole in their ass and he gonna be next.
Moving on, Manny Pacquiao acknowledged Canelo Alvarez's size advantage over Terence Crawford, stressing that Crawford must control his body, speed, and power when moving up in weight. Drawing from his own win over the bigger Antonio Margarito, Pacquiao advised smaller fighters to rely on precision and opponent-specific strategies. He emphasized that preparation should be focused, like studying only math for a math exam the next day.
Easy for Crawford. I mean, it's Canelo has the big advantage, but Crawford needs to manage well his body, his speed, and his power, because he's moving up to another level of weight.
I asked this because you did it with Margarito. You went to 54, and people were like, "Oh my God, this guy's so big, Margarito!" But your speed made the difference in that fight. Well, what advice would you give a smaller guy like Crawford to fight someone like Canelo, who's a lot bigger and stronger?
Preparing like that opponents, is not only the speed, but the techniques that you can use in the fight. Like, make sure that in your daily routine, training routine, like that, the techniques, strategy, combination, it's accurate to your opponent's style. You know what I'm talking about? Like, when you have a math exam tomorrow, you have to review right now a math subject. You don't need to review English subject or a science subject. You have to review math subject, because tomorrow you're going to have a exam. You're going to exam a math subject.
That's a hard exam.
Building on Pacquiao's point about precision and discipline, veteran commentator Jim Lampley echoed Larry Merchant's view that Crawford's best shot lies in a get-in, get-out game plan. He compared it to Sugar Ray Leonard's strategy against Marvin Hagler, landing quick shots and moving before damage can be returned. This tactic, he argued, could frustrate Canelo and help Crawford stay ahead on the scorecards.
I'm going to get to that. I asked the great Larry Merchant, 94 years old, living on Ocean Boulevard in Santa Monica, looking out at the ocean, reflecting on all the amazing things he did. And I asked Larry, I said, do you think Terence Crawford has a chance to beat Canelo Alvarez? And Larry said, Jim, did Ray Leonard get an official decision victory over Marvelous Marvin Hagler? And I said, yes, he did. He said, well, if Ray Leonard could beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler, then Terence Crawford can beat Canelo Alvarez. And I said, why do you say that? He said, same equation. Get in, get out. Get in, get out.
Yeah.
Over and over and over. He's got to figure the angles and the approaches that will allow him to step in, land to the body, or occasionally upstairs, and then get out before he's facing any damage.
Right.
That's what Ray did so effectively against Hagler, and it frustrated Hagler. And the more you frustrate the opponent.
However, frustrating Canelo is easier said than done, as Joe Rogan pointed out by highlighting Alvarez's unorthodox but effective tactic of targeting his opponent's arms. He likened this brutal approach to that of Rocky Marciano, explaining how it gradually breaks down a fighter's guard and limits their ability to respond as the fight progresses.
Yeah. Canelo has such unique skills, and one of the weird things that he does that very few people since Rocky Marciano does is he punches your arms.
Yes.
He brutalizes your arms.
He's another brilliant guy.
And if that wasn't enough, Rogan also praised Canelo's legendary chin, noting he's never been truly knocked down. He credited this not just to natural toughness, but to Canelo's unique training methods, including horse riding, which builds core strength and balance, a detail he noticed while living near the champ.
He has the greatest punch resistance in the sport. You know, we talked about it earlier. One knockout in the whole career.
Knockdown.
And it wasn't a knockdown. And it wasn't really a knockdown in my personal view. So, because he didn't touch the canvas. He's never been on the canvas. And we call it chin. And I think that we kind of missed the point by calling it chin. Because I used to be Canelo's neighbor in Del Mar, California, to Chepo, his senior trainer at the grocery store. I'd look into the cart and say, oh, he's eating tuna. And he said, yes, and he's eating chicken, da-da-da. And so I also used to go down the hill from my house off of Via della Valle in Del Mar and watch him train at the Equestrian Center, where he would go to the Equestrian Center in the morning and do 2.5 hours of hunter-jumper riding before going to his gym in the afternoon to do 3.5 hours of boxing training.
David Benavidez isn't backing down, and the pressure on Canelo Alvarez is only growing. With major voices in boxing weighing in, this scandal could shake the sport to its core. Don't miss the full breakdown, watch the video, and make sure to subscribe.